Hey, my name is Eric Trebetsky, Director of Communications for Sovereign Grace Churches, and I'm here with our Executive Director, Mark Prater, on his podcast, which is about getting you what you need to be part of our global family of churches. And today I want to ask Mark, hear from Mark. I think we all could use a little update from Mark. How did the conference go? What kind of things would you look at to evaluate the conference? Tell us some things that surprised you from the conference. It was a great conference, Mark. Thanks for leading us. What were your thoughts?
Well, thanks for asking. I thought the conference went really well. It actually went better than I'd hoped. I mean, you pray, but God always does more than you ask or even think to ask him. So very, very grateful to God for how the conference went overall. Some highlights for me were just people traveling from 18 different countries to be here in the States. Was so encouraging. And I was very affected. I know a lot of people told me they were as well. On Wednesday night, before we started singing, to have Psalm 117 read in 8 different languages, it just makes the gospel big. It reminds us that the gospel transcends racial, cultural, and language barriers and saves people from every tribe, tongue, and nation. So that was just so encouraging. The preaching was outstanding, and we could spend a whole podcast talking about the preaching. But one of the things that really surprised me in a really good way is the interest meetings that were held throughout the conference. And so we had a church planting luncheon where we had 16 guys who are interested in planting a church with Sovereign Grace. It's actually the largest church planting interest meeting that we've had over the last 6 years. So that was a surprise and very encouraging. That luncheon was packed out. It was led by the National Church Planting Group, and I heard back from Mike Seaver in particular, who said that these guys were engaged. He said he could hardly eat his lunch because they're just asking him all kinds of questions about how to plant with Sovereign Grace. So in a time when people might be thinking, who wants to plant with Sovereign Grace, we're actually finding the opposite to be true. The other thing that was really encouraging is on Wednesday afternoon, we had the Pastors College interest meeting, and that room was packed out. We had to bring more chairs in to accommodate the interest there. And there's just this increased interest from people who attend the conference to actually apply to the Pastors College next year. So that was really, really encouraging. Wow. And then we that same afternoon, we had an evangelism meeting led by Mickey Connolly and Jim Donahue. And those guys were telling me that room was packed out. And we had to bring chairs into that room as well. So that was all just a pleasant surprise that I think gives you a little bit of an idea of where we might be as a denomination. That's a picture of health in some sense that I think you can measure. So that was encouraging.
Wow, those are all, just piecing them all together too. They're all, you might say, outward reaching, expanding. We're chasing the gospel as it works. So it felt big on whatever that was Wednesday night when all the languages, people just reading scripture in different languages. But if you think church planting, pastors college, so training for the future, and evangelism. So it is really encouraging to think all my friends are looking outward and wanting to build and take risks for the expansion of the gospel. That's really encouraging. The room seems really big at our conference. Is there a reason why this would be a question for everyone that was there this week? Is there a reason why all the chairs are zip tied together and we're not allowed to spread them apart? Do you know anything about this, Mark? And what are you going to do about it?
I didn't know they were zip tied actually, so that's good to know. Last year we were in a smaller room, and so we requested that bigger room because it felt like we were too packed in last year. So we moved over to this bigger room, and I think we can make some adjustments, either bringing the stage out a little bit more or not zip tying the chairs so people can move around. But I'll make sure that gets fixed.
I also heard that there were a lot of silver alerts. There's the Florida. What is it? Explain to those that are still lost that we're looking for them. So we learned there, and I don't think this was ever an issue in the past with Sovereign Grace churches, but these silver alerts in Florida.
Yeah, the silver alerts was something Mickey mentioned in the panel that he learned about, which is just folks that are a bit older who get confused and lost and they can't find their way. We had some of those at the conference. So it also tells us how we're moving from the first generation to the second generation, hopefully, in sovereign grace.
You expect anything, any big expectations for next year, thinking of the head of the conference? What would be different next year? Obviously, maybe some different speakers or topic or whatever, but is there anything in particular you're thinking next year, this is what I'm thinking?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think obviously we'll look at different speakers because that can be helpful. One of the pieces of feedback I got was how well Josh Blunt preached at his very first conference. And
We
Josh,
call him we call him the Jeff Purswell of the West Coast, even though he lives in West Virginia.
Yeah, right. He's close enough. Right,
he's close enough.
Coast. His state is called West Virginia, so you can claim it. I get it.
It's part of the Western region.
Yeah, he just did a great job. So a piece of feedback is there are guys that we don't typically hear from that have that kind of gifting and ability. And so that's one of the things I would be thinking through in the year to come was other guys like him. I would have Josh speak again, obviously, but I want to think about other guys, for example. And I think we didn't have CJ speak this year, so I want to most likely ask him again. I think it's good to hear from our founder. So that'd be something I'd be thinking about. Yeah, I think the other thing is to continue to look for times of just praying for one another. We did that a little bit on Wednesday night, and I'm kind of wondering if there's another place in the conference to do that, because it's an opportunity for pastors and wives to be cared for. Typically, they're caring for others, but this is a conference where they can be cared for. So I'd be looking for those, maybe one other additional opportunity there for next year.
I have grown to appreciate as I've been a pastor additional years and adding those years up that our pastors' conference is still about word and prayer, which is just so appropriate for men and who are giving their lives to the ministry of the word and prayer to come be ministered to. So thank you for how you lead us, Mark. Grateful. I think most of us, if not all of us, went home really happy. Thanks for the update. Thanks for being a part of Sovereign Grace Churches. Hopefully this serves you. And until we meet again.
Thank you for watching. If you have questions or comments, Mark would love to hear from you. For more videos like this, hit subscribe on YouTube or by email at markkprater.com.